In this edition of Southern Newsweek, a travel ban on Chinese citizens is hitting the southern tourism sector. The SCHB says it's ready should anyone present with coronavirus in the south. And Sir Elton John charmed thousands of music lovers under the covers in Dunedin's stadium. The government's ban on Chinese travellers is expected to hit Otago's tourism retailers in the pocket. A ban on those who are travelling through mainland China comes during the busy Chinese New Year period.
Otago's tourism operators, including Puzzling World and Wanaka, are readying themselves for the impact of the government's ban on travellers from China. The ban, which the government hopes will stop the spread of the coronavirus to New Zealand, is expected to be in place for at least 2 weeks.
It would be over $8,000 worth of cancellations we've had so far, but unfortunately this is the tip of the iceberg. Now that the borders have been closed to Chinese tourists coming in, I see that sort of only getting worse, unfortunately.
As the outbreak is coinciding with the Chinese Lunar New Year, New Zealand and Otago's tourism market could be hard hit by the ban.
I guess the course over a year, they might make up as much as 20% of our business. Over this time of year, Chinese New Year, it could be as much as 70 to 80% of the business. So yeah, for us, this crisis is certainly cutting a bit deep.
It's not only tourism that's feeling the impact of the outbreak. Otago Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Dougal McGowan said the ripple effects of the virus and the temporary ban are already being felt across the south.
We've seen some immediate effects already with some businesses, particularly in the export sector. They're going to struggle to get their produce to market.
McGowan says some businesses, including rock lobster exporters, were already finding it difficult to get products into China, and the number of international students coming from China were already being impacted.
And one of the key factors here is understanding how long this event might go for. 2-3 weeks, businesses can be relatively resilient. When it gets to 6 months, we've got to start looking for alternative markets. It could be that people get laid off work, so that could have a negative effect on the local economy, but also on the national economy.
Spear says even though the business is staffed to cope with the normal number of customers for this time of the year, there is still plenty for his employees to do.
We're not looking to lay off any staff, that's not required. There's plenty of work to do for them outside of just serving the customers.
So far there have been more than 14,000 confirmed cases of the virus. In Wanaka, the South today.
Leading public health physicians say the South is well prepared should the new coronavirus reach New Zealand. So far the disease has affected more than 20,000 people, mainly in China, and caused around 500 deaths. There are as yet no known cases in New Zealand. Southern physicians are consulting daily about the coronavirus outbreak and receiving regular updates from the Ministry of Health. The disease has spread from China to several other countries, including Australia. There haven't yet been any confirmed cases in New Zealand, but the Southern District Health Board's Chief Medical Officer says they are prepared.
We're really in a phase of watching the borders, but particularly for people who may have been to China who may suffer symptoms, and then we'll have a better idea what to do. So the present time is just, it's an alertness.
General practitioners will be at the front line of attempts to prevent or contain coronavirus, and Well South Medical Director Stephen Graham says doctors are well prepared for any eventualities.
One of the important things we all believe, while we're all here together, is to try and get the messaging clear and consistent without any differences in what general practice is being told. I think that the information available to general practitioners currently is pretty good and pretty consistent and pretty easy to access, and it sits online and can be looked at quite quickly.
SDHB Medical Officer of Health Anura Jayasinghe says public health messages about hand hygiene and cough and sneeze etiquette are being widely distributed throughout the region. He says knowing safer ways to sneeze and cough are 2 key ways of preventing the spread of the disease.
Sometimes we will send a specific message because coronavirus is new and still the pathology and other science of coronavirus is evolving. But I guess most of information or most of messages are similar to other influenza like illness prevention.
Stephen Graham says concerned patients should first set out their recent travel and medical history on the phone to their GP providing information which might allow doctors to eliminate coronavirus as a cause of their symptoms. Details of the dangers around coronavirus are still emerging, so clinicians say it's timely to consider good public health practice. In Dunedin, the South Today. A Dunedin runner has found not all 4-kilometre runs are created equal. Leon Miyahara was part of a group of athletes who paid a fundraising entry fee to run the length of the runway at Momona Airport. Top Guns taking off at yesterday's Run the Runway event. Among the 150 entrants is a confident 18-year-old who regularly goes on 5-kilometre training runs and would eventually win the race.
Quite hard, the first 3 people in front of me, but eventually was able to gain my speed up throughout the race.
Leon Miyahara is a member of Dunedin's Caversham Club and is a regular at the Saturday morning parkrun event, as well as competing in 10-kilometre races. Run the Runway is now in its 3rd year, and project coordinator Fraser Ellis says the cooler temperatures may have helped competitors.
It was great because the weather was just marginal enough that it made the runners a bit cooler. Apparently they run faster. 13 minutes 49 was the fastest time, which I think is quite fast. I personally couldn't manage that.
Dawn broke to an overcast and drizzling day as racers completed the 4-kilometre journey. Leon Miyahara says it was a novelty to run on the generally forbidden ground of an international airport runway.
I actually really enjoyed it, and it's quite interesting how to run where the planes run.
Organisers arrive in the wee small hours, setting up the race and tents under the cover of darkness. And Ellis says the event is growing in popularity year on year.
And we'll have another crack next year and see if we can top that again. But it's becoming an annual event, and the airport are very happy to support the projects on the Taieri, so it's been great.
Run the Runway is a fundraiser for the Taieri Aquatic Centre. In Dunedin, the South Today. Rock music royalty Sir Elton John was greeted with southern weather conditions, but being the seasoned professional he is, put on a stellar show. The flamboyant 72-year-old attracted tens of thousands of fans to Dunedin's covered stadium. Fans trudged towards Forsyth Bar Stadium through persistent rain yesterday, many with plastic ponchos, others with umbrellas, while some chose to tough it out. Their mission to get to the concert as dry as possible to see Sir Elton John at one of his New Zealand shows. The 72-year-old veteran musician was on stage for around 3 hours. The set list included Tiny Dancer, Sir Elton John and sizable band charming thousands of concertgoers under the roof. Many fans travelled from around New Zealand and across the world for the show, which is part of Sir Elton's Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. He opened the show with Benny and the Jets, the beloved 3rd track from his classic 1973 album, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. In Dunedin, the South Today. Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, Dunedin's trial closure of the Octagon isn't making everyone happy, and a 500-year-old work by William Shakespeare is being performed in the great outdoors. See you after the break. No mai no, welcome back. The trial closure of Dunedin's Octagon has angered some retailers who say they are already hurting financially. Some shopkeepers are even saying their future existence is under threat. But a city councillor has some pretty direct advice.
Dunedin's Octagon experience, a trial closure of the town centre to vehicle traffic, is becoming unforgettable for all the wrong reasons for some retailers. Just down from the Octagon at the Scottish shop, Erin Hogan describes the first days of the trial as having been an absolute disaster, with revenue down 50% from usual.
I have figures to prove that the turnover was down in the first 3 days of the trial, as we knew it would be, because we have history of what happens when the street is closed.
Colin Lim of I Love Merino says his shop's also seen retail slashed by half.
Yesterday we had the celebrity solstice here. It's been here 5 times already this season. I averaged out the sales over those 5 visits, and yesterday we were down 50%.
Council Planning and Environment Committee Chairman Councillor David Benson Pope said earlier this week he was open to the possibility that the Octagon may no longer suit certain types of retail.
If people are running businesses that are not fit for purpose in the area they're in, well, they need to find a solution.
But he adds the council is trying its best to help guide Dunedin's retailers into making good decisions.
One of the things we are doing though, and talking to retailers about their concerns, is giving them good advice from people who know how successful these sort of urban design improvements are, and in due course I guess those operators will make their own decisions about what's best for them.
In the meantime, some of the Octagon's retailers are dreading the upcoming 2 months of ongoing disruption to road traffic.
To do this to us now in our peak times of trade, I think it's a bit disastrous.
The Dunedin City Council's Octagon Experience closure is set to run until mid-February, and from then until the end of March there will also be partial closures. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The lure of Shakespeare and the challenge of performing in the great outdoors has attracted a group of actors for the first season of Dunedin Summer Shakespeare in many years. During February, Woodhall Gardens is hosting Romeo and Juliet, with cast members welcoming the public to join them in the woods. All the world's a stage. And it's literally the case for a company putting on an adaptation of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet at Dunedin's Woodhall Gardens.
It is going to be a very lively environment. So we are in Woodhall Gardens, which means we're going to have some incidental noise, whatever Mother Nature throws at us.
Director Kim Morgan says the theatre company has been working towards this production for about a year, leading up to opening night. Trucks rumbling by, children playing and the wind whooshing through trees aren't the usual background noises actors have to deal with. Nick Tipa has the role of Romeo and is relying on 10 years of acting experience to help him create his own take on the oft-played part.
I think the audience comes in with a lot of expectation and not worrying too much about what the audience think is going to happen, and as I said before, going back to the text and finding your way through that text based on what you find, not on what you've heard about this play or what people expect you to present in this play.
Emily Mackenzie is Juliet to Nick Tipa's Romeo and says being outside in the elements is one of the greatest challenges, without having walls to reflect actors' voices.
Usually when you're in the theatre, it helps you. But when you're in the park, it's quite easily your voice can easily be taken away by the wind or any of the other kind of natural environments.
The outdoor production of Dunedin Summer Shakespeare is a semi-professional production featuring a combination of paid and unpaid cast and crew. Kim Morgan says it wouldn't have come about without funding from many sources.
The generosity of the Dunedin City Council, the Creative New Zealand Professional Theatre Development Fund, which they administer, we've been a very fortunate recipient of. We've also been funded by Otago Community Trust.
Along with the major funders, she says more than 200 people donated to a Give a Little page which the theatre company set up. The production opens tonight and is set to run over the next 2 weekends. In Dunedin, the South Today. New Zealand's largest multi-sport event kicked off in Dunedin last weekend. More than 5,000 competitors, aged from 18 to 95, have converged on the city for the New Zealand Masters Games.
New Zealand's Minister of Sport, Grant Robertson, officially welcomes the 5,000 competitors to Dunedin for the 2020 Masters Games. More than 60 sports are on offer, with some of the major ones, football, netball and hockey, kicking off over the weekend. Games manager Vicky Kesteler says they are loving being based in the middle of the Octagon this year.
It just gets bigger and bigger and better, so these will be my 4th games, and yeah, just loved every single one. We've got more competitors, different sports, and we've got a great new venue to have it in, so which is awesome.
Not every sport has a strict age limit, restricting competitors to those with a few grey hairs. Some sports, such as gymnastics and ice skating, are usually left to younger athletes, meaning they have a lower age limit than most other events. 18-year-old Australian figure skater Lucy Seeger is the youngest competitor at the Games.
It's one of the only comps for me as an adult skater at 18 to compete internationally. Most of the other competitions require at least 28 years old.
Coming from an Australian summer where the temperatures are extreme, she is enjoying the cooler climate of Dunedin. Kestler says there are many more events to look forward to.
Tonight we have got Rocket Man on the big screen behind me, and that some of our sports are still underway. We have squash, we have got cycling, cricket's about to kick off tomorrow. Our softball starts later in the week, basketball starts later in the week, so yeah, there's still lots and lots more happening.
The Masters will run until the end of the week. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A select group of Dunedin police officers are making the change from highway patrol to cycleway patrol. From this week, police officers in Dunedin, Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch will take to the roads on e-bikes as part of a road safety trial.
New Zealand police are trying another way of getting around. Rather than walking or driving, they're trialling electric bikes as a mode of transport. Sergeant Hamish Knight has come down from Wellington to help with the training and says the electric bikes are a step up from the old-fashioned pedal-powered ones.
These are just another tool in the toolbox for how police do our job. Preventing, detecting, enforcing. We've got these bikes that we're going to test out and see how we go.
Starting next Wednesday, several officers in the 4 main centres will take to the roads on these e-bikes as part of a $70,000 road safety trial funded by the New Zealand Transport Agency.
With the e-bikes, they've got the assistance of the motor, so they can actually get up the hills a lot easier. When I was on my pedal bikes, you had to work a little bit harder. These things here, a lot easier. You're not having to bust the out for getting up the hill.
It's hoped the bikes will increase the visibility of police in the community. The cycle patrols will also provide an extra eye on driving and cycling behaviour, including distracted drivers and people not wearing seat belts. But don't expect them to come charging through intersections in hot pursuit and ringing their bell.
As for pursuing under red and lights, we can't do that. We won't be doing it in the bicycle.
The trial is expected to last for 4 weeks, after which the potential for further operational use will be considered. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, a Dunedin hill runner tested his love of running up hills over January for a good cause, and we meet a Dunedin artist with a passion for brightly coloured ceramic works. See you after the break. Thanks for staying with us. One trip up Dunedin's Baldwin Street is usually enough for most people, but for Steve Tripp, once is never enough. He's no stranger to hill running, and this time the 54-year-old has found a worthy cause to put his body on the line for. Putting in the hard yards, all uphill.
And today's the 31st, so I thought I'd finish my challenge with a run up Baldwin Street.
Dunedin competitive fun runner Steve Tripp spent the month of January running 1,000 metres a day uphill, raising funds for a mental health charity.
It's for the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand, so I think they're a really important organisation for raising awareness and providing resources for people to promote well-being and stuff.
As the organiser of the annual Three Peaks race, Tripp has been pounding the pavements and hills around Otago for a number of years. And he has another reason to concentrate on hill work at the moment.
And it's also a training program for Crush the Cargill, which is the longest 24-hour challenge in the world.
Tripp says Crush the Cargill is a 24-hour event where entrants run up and down Mount Cargill for a whole day, raising funds for the Valley Project.
If it wasn't 36 degrees, I wouldn't be sweating so much.
Even with a handful of rest days, Tripp passed his goal of 31,000 metres for the month by 400 metres. In Dunedin, the South Today. Crowds cheered in support while some of the world's best BMX riders launched their bikes into aerial stunts such as the whip, the backflip and the Superman. held near Winton, Farm Jam drew a crowd of around 3,000 to watch the intrepid cyclists get some really big air.
Californian freestyle BMX rider Michael Clark performs a backflip in front of a 3,000 strong crowd at Southland's Farm Jam near Winton on Saturday.
It's about freestyle really, so just as much fun as you can have on a bike if you're interested in bikes.
Farm Jam was started by Southland brothers Brett and Dan Frew, who first opened their Otapiri Gorge farm for the event in 2007. They're pleased to see how the event has grown since then and attribute its success to the presence of both local and international freestyle talent.
We built some jumps and try and get the world's best riders down and the local boys to kind of mix it up with them, and yeah, we're just trying to put on a show as well for the crowd, and yeah, just riding bikes and going as high as possible and doing the most amount of tricks and things like that.
A major disappointment on Saturday was the gale force winds forcing the cancellation of the planned freestyle motocross contest, leaving the entertainment just to the bicycles.
Which is a real shame because we've got everything set up. It's just we're just waiting for that wind to die down a little bit and then we can do a bit more of a show.
With the motocross cancelled, results were taken from the previous day's free ride, with Californian-based X Games gold medalist Tyler Berriman winning and local rider Ben Wilson from Gore coming a stylish second. In Southland, the South today.
Sawyers Bay artist Jim Cooper has a flair for flamboyance, creating beautiful ceramic works. Otago Museum is hosting an installation of Cooper's work, which was inspired by his 2016 residency in Denmark. Captivated by colour. Tourists stopping in their tracks, taken in by Dunedin artist Jim Cooper's new installation at Otago Museum. One admiring couple even having their photo taken by the artist. Cooper says this collection of work comes after a residency with students in Denmark and then having space to play with his own work.
After I'd made the work, I just took like 6 months to play with it in the studio. Not taking it seriously, just arranging and rearranging until I felt that I'd taken what I could from it.
The Otago Museum collects and displays ceramics, including work from New Zealand ceramicists. The museum's head of exhibitions and collections, Craig Scott, says Jim Cooper is an internationally recognised ceramic artist and they're pleased to be showing his new installation. Cooper says this collection, called Number 9, work made in a number 9 year, was inspired by travel.
I'd come back from overseas and a few experiences that just meant I wanted to pull back from showing and just do what I wanted to do in the studio. Always there's another voice, you know, it's somebody.
While retaining his usual exuberance and spontaneity, the exhibition veers away from the cartoonish and sometimes comical figures he's known for. Cooper says his process is born out of chaos without a clear goal of an end result.
Because I work in a lot of chaos, I like what happens when whatever you're doing blends with your immediate environment. There's a communication that kicks into place and, you know, 2 or 3 strings of beads and that drawing on the wall go quite nice together, so we'll just make a few more and do a few more drawings and put something on the floor. You know, I like to work in that way. I never have a real plan, I only ever have a start, you know.
Otago Museum say they're thrilled to share the work of one of New Zealand's pre-eminent ceramic artists with the public. This free installation will be in place until early August and can be found on the museum's 2nd level. In Dunedin, the South today. That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great evening. Take te anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.